Hey there, students. So, some of you, we need to finish up on this bird's eye view. Uh, and I left off with, I think, hour two on here. If you are in first hour, you can fast forward to the next, till we already took the notes. So, you can just kind of fast forward through all this stuff here. So, if you're an hour or two, you'll have to keep watching here. So we already did the 10,000 meter one. That's what you're seeing behind here as far as human-made structures versus natural-made. So the next one I'm going to go up to is 100,000 meters or 100 kilometers. So 100,000 meters or 100 kilometers. So let's zoom out here. That's right about here. All right. So as far as human-made structures, let's see if you can find out or see if you can figure out what some of this stuff is. Again, our classroom sleepy eye is right here. You can see some roads as far as human-made structures. That's Highway 14 right here. This is New Ulm. So again, you can somehow kind of see that. Can also see some other towns over here. I believe this would be like Morgan is my guess. It's probably Evan here. Maybe we did go over this view. I can't remember. But we have two rivers in this view. So here's the Cottonwood River. As far as natural made structures, here's the Minnesota River. We still have lakes. This is Swan Lake over here. This would be Mankato right over here. Obviously, that's human made. Okay, so any of these like kind of brown spots that you see here, those are towns. You can see how big New Ulm is compared to Sleepy Eye. Okay, so you can still see like trees that groves areas that kind of line the spots here around the rivers, but otherwise, it's harder to kind of see any of that, any individual living thing. So let's look at, we are now going to go, let's see, 1 million meters or 1,000 kilometers. All right. So here we're at here. And then what I'm going to do is turn on my boundaries here so you can see. So when you're first looking at this here, you have, this is our dot right there. Again, that's our classroom. So as far as things that you can see, probably not too many man-made structures now. I don't know if you can really write down any. You might be able to see like Minneapolis. I'll take those lines off here in a second, so maybe you could write down that. But the rest of these, there's not too much else you can see. You can see the start of the Great Lakes, and you can see how much bigger they are compared to, just a normal sized lake. You can see some pretty big rivers. All right, you can see more of the terrain as far as mountain areas. You can see more of riverbank areas, areas that are more, green versus brown and kind of dry. So you can pretty much see the whole state now. So I'll turn these lines off again. Like I see, as far as man-made structures, I wouldn't think that you would write down a lot except for maybe, some of the bigger cities here. So like I said, if you look there, you can see that spot right there. That's Minneapolis. This one up here is Fargo. This one right here is Sioux Falls. This is Mankato right there. This bigger one here is Rochester. Otherwise, it's kind of hard. You can see if I move this away a little bit down here, this is Chicago. So as far as man-made structures, maybe you can just put like big cities, large cities. All right. So as far as natural structures, you got the Great Lakes, other larger lakes, rivers, some of the terrain you can put down. Okay, so my last one, I'm going to go out to 10,000, or sorry, excuse me, 10 million meters or 10,000 kilometers. Oops. Okay, so that takes us right about here. So again, I don't know that I'd be able to put down anything for man-made structures. So if you wanted to put an X through that, you could. As far as natural structures, you can see, the Great Lakes, oceans, the whole North American continent. You can see like rugged areas over here, like mountains. Okay, so now that one other thing I was going to point out here is where this information is coming from. So when we look at this here, let me zoom back in. Okay, so when I go to about here, so I'm not quite at where I was. Where are you? It's too far down. Okay, sorry. Okay, so when I look at like up above this area, about right here, I'm at like 43 kilometers, which is 43,000 kilometers. You can see where down here at the very, very bottom, it says imagery date 6/15/21. That's the date that it was taken. But once I zoom way out here, I can only go out so far, right? And then eventually the other, it'll say Landsat Copernicus. So this is a satellite here. It looks like this. This is the Landsat satellite for Copernicus. So this is all those pictures that are taken from satellites. So up until a certain amount or a certain height there, it's taken with satellites, and then at some point it's taken with or it's taken with aerial photos from planes and things like that. And then once it gets up too high where planes could not go, and then it's taken with satellites. So this can go right down, these notes here can go right down below your picture. So it says aerial photos are taken with airplanes that fly over locations. So again, this can go right underneath your page right there. So images taken above 20,000 meters or so use satellites. Again, there's not a specific cutoff, but just kind of depends on the cameras and things like that. As altitude increases, human-made structures become less visible. So again, our altitude is changing each time. That means how far away we are from the Earth. So as our altitude increases, human-made structures become less visible and natural structures become more visible. All right. So if your sub needs to, they can pause this video a little bit longer for you to write that down. All right. So this can go on a new page. Go ahead and write down the same title up at the top, 1.1, School to Space, new page here. So as far as a location, we had asked what your location was in the science classroom. There's still not 100% right way to answer this because your location can be described in many ways depending on the frame of reference. Are you talking about just in terms of, the science room itself? Are you talking about in terms of the building? Are you talking about in terms of the city, the state, country, all that kind of stuff? Like how far do you want to go? And I wasn't asking you necessarily for a specific answer to that. So a person's location can be described depending on their frame of reference, and we highlighted that vocabulary word on a couple pages back. So if I asked you, where you live, some of you might say Sleepy Eye, some of you might say Minnesota. Both of those are right. So those are two, examples of frames of references that again would be right. So frame of reference can also be very specific or can be more general. Okay, so that's again what I was asking you in as far as your location in the room. So some of you might have said where your spot was in the room. Some of you might have talked about where the whole science classroom is located in terms of the building. And some of you might have stopped right there, and some of you might have gone more specific and gave me like more of an address type of thing. So that's what I want to kind of go over now here is we had this question on our entry level survey, which was, what is our cosmic address? So I want to define what that is here. So cosmic address is the position in the universe that extends beyond Earth. All right. Please make sure that you do highlight this word using the highlighters in your tray. I don't have I have to be plugged into my smart projector in order to use it, so it doesn't pop up here for me. I might be able to grab one. Yeah, I can grab one here. Okay. Yeah, that works. Okay, so cosmic address is our position in the universe that extends beyond Earth. So extends beyond Earth, that's where that cosmic comes from. And so I encourage students to we want to know our own address, like our Earth address. And so you can kind of use your mailing address for that. But then you can go beyond that and then beyond Earth. And so, going beyond Earth, as far as our cosmic address, we want to start thinking about like what that might be. Okay. So if we start here with Earth, what would be the next thing that Earth is a part of? All right. Well, that would likely be the solar system. Okay. So we call what we're part of here is in the solar system. So that includes the sun and then the 8 planets. Now, all of those are part of the Milky Way galaxy. So that would be next. Okay. And then all of that is part of, another collection of stars and galaxies that make up the universe. All right. So as far as what comes before Earth, like I said, just our address, is fine. You could put, Sleepy Eye, Minnesota. Um, I don't necessarily know that you need the zip code, but you could even go like beyond that a little bit. You could do like North America or something like that. And then Earth. So that's possible to do. All right. So if you need more time to write that, let's just have you pause. Otherwise, I'm going to go on to the next page here. All right. So you can go back to this focus question here and answer that. All right. So where are you in terms of science class? Again, the only thing that I would maybe have you do as far as your after answer is tell me what your frame of reference is, in terms of writing down your after answer. So you can write in terms of the actual classroom, my position is, all right. So, if that's how you want to answer that question. So like I said, I would just encourage you to write down what your frame of reference is. So, um, so you could write down like using the classroom as the frame of reference. My position is, and then you could write down, like if you want to write down your table number and then your seat number. If you want to determine this as like, where are we in terms of the building, you could use the word building here instead of classroom. Okay, and then you could describe where we are in terms of the our science classroom is in terms of the building. My room number is 113. All right. If you wanted to write it down in terms of like more of an address, you could do like using the city as the frame of reference, right? My position is 400 4th Avenue Southeast. Oh, sorry. That's the address of the school. And then if you wanted to leave room 113. So, this would be something that you guys could do, choosing one of those options. So just put using the blank as the frame of reference, my position is. All right. So I'm just going to put kind of an underline here. Okay. So fill that in. All right. And then I'm going to stop there for today.